What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Boozer here. Thanks for stopping by. Hopefully you guys having a good day so far. Hopefully everything's going well with your Empress Titan event if you guys are going for that. In today's video, we got some exciting news here today. We do have two champion rebalances for the month of May here to preview for you guys. Two champions that are pretty dang old and are pretty dang useless nowadays. But I think these buffs are some pretty nice surprises here. So let's check them out. Let's talk over it a little bit. Yeah, see if it's enough. So the first champion up for a rebalance here is going to be our old stud Septimus. Septimus, if you guys didn't know, he was the one-shot Spider King back in the day. He just runs in there and one-shots the Spider, one of the best, most sought-after max HP champions of that time. But once they released the dungeons, normal dungeons, 21 to 25, the max HP was capped out, so max HP champions were just not as good anymore. So even though Septimus hit probably the hardest of all the max HPs back in the day, he just wasn't used after level 20. And then other max HP champion were used instead that had a little bit more utility. Champions like, for example, Husk, Rogard. These champions were good on 20, but not as good as Septimus. But they also brought more in their kit. So once max HP was capped out, they got more play, and of course more modern max HP champions like Newt and all that stuff. But hey, our boy Septimus here finally getting some love. Let's check it out here. So the A1 previously did not have ignore defense, is going to now ignore 30% of the target's defense on the A1. If the target is killed, the champion's Holy Sword ability will be reset. So that's the same as previously. And the ascended portion of his A1 is the same. So the only big difference here is the ignore defense. So 30% ignore defense added to his A1. I mean, not too bad, not super significant, but he does gain that, pretty good upside if he kills somebody. So 30% ignore defense will help that out a little bit here. His Holy Sword ability does get a buff as well. It becomes, instead of a single target attack, it becomes an AoE attack now, still retaining the ignore shield, ignore block damage buffs. The damage increases according to enemies' max HP, so it retains that as well. There's going to be a damage multiplier increase on that Holy Sword and a cooldown reduction down to 3 turns. So that's a pretty big buff for his signature move, Holy Sword. It goes from a single target to an AoE. It's a damage buff and a cooldown decrease. Gonna have to see if that multiplier is going to make a big difference here, but that's pretty big buff. Now we have another AoE max HP damage dealing champion. This could be very, very useful in areas like Hydra, where there's multiple max HP, bosses, and just waves in general. It'll be more useful. Let's check out the passive here. The passive gets a little bit of a rework here. Has a 30% chance of increasing the duration of all debuffs on the target by 1 turn whenever this champion attacks. This champion cannot be resisted, so that is the new buff. No accuracy necessary on Septimus to gain that benefit. The damage inflicted by this champion's skills increases by 30% if the enemy's max HP is higher than this champion's max HP. Previously, it was if the enemy's current HP is over 50%. So now it's just whenever the enemy's HP is over Septimus. Now, Septimus has pretty low base HP, and obviously anything in PvE like waves or bosses will have higher max HP than your champion. So he just has a flat 30% damage boost. I think that's pretty nice. I think removing the accuracy requirement from his kit is also very solid. His aura goes from a rare level aura, 23% attack in all battles, up to 30%. So a nice solid update here. I think for Septimus, obviously we have to see how strong his multipliers got increased to. But at the very least, it makes him a little bit more powerful and just generally a little bit more updated. Looking forward to see how well he performs. He is in the Bannerlord faction as well, so that's going to help people out in the faction wars. I think for me personally, I think both my accounts has 2 Septimus. I'm definitely looking forward to bringing them back out and see what they can do. So let's jump into the next champion here on the rebalance list. And like I said, another oldie, and it's going to be Yoshi the Drunkard. Now, Yoshi the Drunkard was one of the first Shadowkin champions. I believe his fusion was in March of 2021, so about 5 years ago. This champion is pretty dang old. And I can tell you guys that I've rarely ever used this champion, but this update looks very, very solid. All right. So his A1, still a single target hit, has a 40% chance to place a stun. It goes up from 30%. And he places now a decrease resistance debuff for 2 turns instead if the stun debuff is not placed. So if you're attacking like a boss, for example, that cannot be stunned, now you're placing decreased resistance. It just gives you a little bit more utility on his A1. So I think that's a pretty solid update. His A2, Flaming Spirits, it goes from 2 times attack at random, which is totally BS. And that changes to a AoE attack, which is amazing. That's a big update. It still retains the decreased accuracy debuff and HP burn. So now it's going to be a 3-turn AoE, HP burn, and decrease accuracy. That is very nice. Again, it's going to make that a lot more consistent and gives him a little bit of utility. You can play him in Hydra even just for placing the decreased accuracy and HP burns. Now onto his A3 here, Battle Toast. This is a pretty big update here. Still placing increased attack, still placing increased accuracy, but now you get a 20% team turn meter fill. That is very, very big. That's a huge update over his previous ability, which did not have this turn meter fill. And his 50% chance of placing True Fear goes up to 75%. This is a really, really nice buff. This gives Yoshi the ability to be your turn meter booster. Not only is he your turn meter booster, but he's also bringing the increased attack and increased accuracy in the same ability. The fear is unlikely to be too helpful in the opening first turns, but still a little bit of extra crowd control is not bad. His passive also gets a very small buff here, going from 4% turn meter fill up to 5% turn meter fill whenever an enemy receives a buff. So you can think about that as a, kind of a built-in supersonic set a little bit. And another nice update here is that his base speed goes from 103 up to now 108. 108 is, a little bit on par, closer to like Arman's. I think Arman's is like 109, I think. So he can definitely be your fastest champion. He can be your speed booster now because he offers the turn meter boost on his A3, as well as the buffs. And the increased accuracy is going to be really good. So he can lead into your lockout champion, for example, or he can lead into your other debuffers, your strip champion, for example, or even just your damage dealing attack based nuker. So very, very nice update here. And then he still has that ability to cut in where he increases his turn meter. It's just going to make him a lot more usable. There's more consistency in his kit now. Previously, you have 2 time at random hit. It's total BS. Now it's going to be an AoE HP burn, so he's going to help you out against the waves even. But yeah, really big update here for Yoshi. Loving it. We got 2, really old champions here. Like I said, we got Septimus and Yoshi, both getting a little bit of love, both getting a 2026 update. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think about these updates for these older champions. Will you be bringing them out of the vault? Will you be trying them out? Personally speaking, I don't think either of them are like busted good, unless Septimus, something crazy here is happening with Septimus, but I don't think he's going to be replacing any kind of current champion we have. And then Yoshi here, I can definitely see being good, a lot better, but I don't think he's going to be, replacing any key champions we have. Maybe some new arena teams will form because of this turn meter boost, increase attack, increase accuracy. Could be interesting. Might see some better, Shadowkin faction siege teams. That could be possible as well. He already has a speed in all battles aura as well, so it could be, could be a possibility to make some teams around this guy, perhaps. But yeah, great to see 2 old champions getting some love here. It's really nice that Plarium continues these updates and rebalances every month. I know 2 champions is not a lot, and there's so many champions in this game, but some of their updates recently have been really good, or at least good enough to make significant impact so that you can bring these guys out of the vault. Not just lip service anymore, just doing whatever with some bad updates and then calling it a day. Like, they're actually making impactful updates. For example, like Harvest Jack, Traxa, like these are just some recent ones that got buffed to the point where they're like, whoa, these are really good now. You gotta kind of have to bring them out. At least that's my opinion. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think about these new updates. Thanks for watching until the end, guys. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next video.